evening, Jo. I think it's time for drinking some wine and getting chatting. Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers, everybody, and come. And yeah, thank you for that mention. It was funny, as I was looking at some of the history for this session, I saw that I think the first exhibition Gewürz that Hugel made for us was the 1998, which was my daughter's birth year. So that was quite a coincidence. So we're holding this event in the week that would have been our Alsace tastings. For all the reasons we know, those are not happening this year. But I'm absolutely thrilled that we've been able to time an event, particularly this week, this special week, with two of the great historic houses from Alsace. And what is lovely is that we've actually got the representatives of the new dynamic generation of those two families in Alsace. We often refer to this new generation and lots of change. Sometimes I think it's just because we're getting older. You guys are just so young. It's just the normal progression. It's the family taking over, and we're going to hear a lot about those two families over the evening. So we're going to start with Jean-Frédéric, who's going to focus more on some of the history of Alsace, and of course on the family, before then handing over to Julien. Each of them is going to present a selection of wines which are either in stock or on the water, soon to be in stock, plus a special fine wine treat from each of them, which happen to be on our current fine wine list. So we're going to take a quick run through. It'll allow us to talk about different styles, about different vintages, and hopefully allow a bit of time for your questions at the end. So welcome to both of you. Thank you so much for giving up your evenings. And I'd like to hand over to Frédéric.
Thank you very much. Well, I must confess, this is the most fun and excitement I've had in an evening since the beginning of lockdown. So please don't apologize. It is more than welcome. Yes. Step one, I guess, would be to tell you a little bit about myself. So I'm part of the 13th generation of the Hugel family. We're currently 4 members of the family working at Hugel, out of which 3 are being paid for. The one in the middle, the proud gentleman in the middle, my grandfather André, just turning 92, is currently paid by President Macron. Yes, this is a family company, like there are many in the world, many in the wine business, but unfortunately less and less. And this is something that we have in common with Julien. We are both of the 13th generation, but carry a proud heritage. In my family, we often say that you do not want to be the one generation that failed. You know, you basically enter the company as you would enter religion, and you do not want to be the one that lets things down. So very early on, the family story, the family history has been about minimizing risk and trying to considering short-term profit, trying to celebrate the long heritage we have by guaranteeing long-term survival. I'm going to take you through a little bit of the history of the family. We only have an hour, so I'm going to have to sum up 380 years in just a few minutes. But I'm going to sum it up through a fair bit of the family characters, or at least 2 or 3 generations of the family. The gentleman that you have that you're seeing at the moment, that picture is Émile. So his full name is Frédéric Émile. That might ring a bell. Actually, it's a fairly common name in Alsace. I know of some other producers who have a very famous Frédéric Émile in the family. And this gentleman is more or less the one that built the modern Hugel the way it is today. He was a visionary that had a sense that if you want to produce, if you want your name to be known, if you want your product to be taken seriously, you have to produce quality. And along with other families, along with the Trimbach families, of course, with the Trimbach family, of course, he was one of the great architects of reinstating and putting back in place the old Alsace grape varieties. You have to imagine that at the end of World War I and in between World War I and World War II, the huge majority of the vineyards and of the landscape of Alsace was hybrid vines because of phylloxera, because of the various diseases that had wiped out the area. The shortcut, the easy answer was basically hybrids, which would avoid phylloxera and help sustain a living, basically having a crop. And he was the one that advocated for coming back to these famous grapes that we know today: Riesling, Pinot Gris, gewürztraminer, Musca, these noble grapes that we today all know. Keep in mind at the time they represented only 4% of the acreage of Alsace. So it's one of the reasons why Alsace today is what it is. It is because of adopting or readopting these famous grape varieties. Second character in the family is Jean, the gentleman that definitely doesn't look like he was working the vineyards that day, wearing a suit and tie. He is the brain and the brain power behind today's Hugel. Very skilled marketing man at a time where marketing was a very abstract concept that probably did not exist. He's the one responsible for the famous yellow label of Hugel. He's the one that early on adopted the Hugel yellow label, and he's the one that made Hugel an international brand known around the world. It's one thing to make wine; it's another thing to make it known and sell it. And he is the one who traveled the world. Imagine in 1934, he took 4 different planes and for the first time established the brand in Australia. He established the brand in Thailand. He established the brand in Brazil. In the 1930s, Hugel was already exporting to Brazil, always with this idea in mind. And this was just in between the 2 wars, but the matter was still the same at the end of World War II. Whether you're French or German, and in Alsace it happens more often than you would want that your nationality might change. Whether you're French or German, the Americans, the Thais, the Australians, the Japanese will still buy your wines, which might not be the case for your domestic market, whether you're French or German. And so he is the mastermind behind that strategy of minimizing risk, not putting all of our eggs in the same basket, which today I have to be very frank is saving our assets a little bit. Next slide. For those of you who came to Riquewihr, you will know that place. This is a view of the winery, which we would love not to see anymore. This is one of the most historic pictures, and it's in the same set as the first one that you saw of Émile. My great-grandfather, Jean, bought just before the war a color camera, a camera with a color film, Agfa color film. And he has all of these different episodes before, during, and after the war on that same color film. So this is a color picture, original color picture of December 5th, 1944, when the first Sherman tank, so when the first American soldiers entered town. Luckily enough, there were no major destructions in town. And what you can see in the window at the back, and which many of you who visited have seen and still see today, which are Hugel bottles standing proud in the Hugel window. And this is exactly how it looks today. So not much changes in Riquewihr in terms of architecture, and there's an interesting concept in Japanese, actually, in the Japanese culture, which I especially admire, which is the concept of kaizen. Kaizen means continual change, no revolution, and we're a country that is probably very well aware that revolutions might be a positive thing, but the French valued their French Revolution very much, but keep in mind that we ended up with 15 years of terror just after it. So what you could obtain with revolution, you might obtain it with less casualties over a longer period of time. And this is a very important concept at Hugel. We try to change, maximize, evolve at every possible step, little by little, so that if you're tasting a wine, a Hugel wine this year, and you're tasting one from the vintage before, you probably won't find a difference. And this is actually something that we value. Continuity and consistency are two values that we think are very important at Hugel. But nonetheless, if you taste a wine 10 years, 15 years older, you might realize that there have been consistent and tremendous changes. Just by little touch, we tried not to throw the baby with the bathwater, but change is inherent to the culture in the family. But at the same time, so every new generation is supposed to bring a little extra something, a new soul, a new spirit, a new mindset, and is supposed to bring change. A new generation is supposed to be to bring change. And so that's I'm now 6 years into the company, and that's what I'm trying to do with the benevolent look of the previous generations, who are overlooking what the younger team is doing. So the wines that we're showcasing in the near future, in the current assortment, will be a set of 2016s, which is a beautiful Alsace classic vintage, which we see less and less. We're getting used to very solar, very warm, very generous vintages. We're now at a moment when the 16s are entering a very generous, the opening phase, let's say, the second phase, which is the one that is most interesting on those wines, which is when terroir starts to pick up, which is when the texture, the structure of the wines is starting to enter, to kick in. And because these wines are properly terroir wines. The ones we're talking about is estate level, and of course the society's gewürztraminer, which are the same level. Actually, you're getting a very good deal on the society's gewürztraminer. It is our estate level that which you're getting at a very good bargain, let's say. But these are very important wines for us because they are the first statement of what the terroirs of Riquewihr can bring and can express, in the way that these are 100% Riquewihr grapes. These are grapes that come in a great part from the top vineyards of the estate. We're talking Schönenbourg for Riesling, we're talking Flochtig for Pinot Gris, and we're talking Sporen for gewürztraminer. It's actually close to 50% of the classified Grand Cru. All the young vines, upper parts, lower parts of these vineyards end up in the classic quality, which is then to which we generally add the older vines of the rest of the estate. So it's basically a winemaker's pick. We vinify everything parcellaire, and then we go through the cellar. We taste once the wines are fine-tuned, and once we think we have the final wines. We taste through the cellar and we make a selection. Whatever is too good to blend in the classic, whatever is not great enough to blend in the Gros Syllois, enters that very niche spot where we decided it's supposed to be blended. It's just too good for a classic, and it has that character, that typicity, that personality to handle 8, 10, 15 years of aging. And we know, we believe, or we know through experience, that my uncle knows through experience, we know by tasting and practicing as much as we can, that these will very, very likely produce wines of good ageability, good aging capacity, and which will reveal some terroir character which we're looking for.
We don't have the slide anymore.
Slide's gone.
Slide gone.
Like the slide back, Jean-Frédéric, sorry.
No, no worries.
Nope.
So Anna, should we be tasting now, or should we be moving to background from Julien?
I was going to do background, then background, if that's all right with you, Jo.
Yep,
and
yep,
then it means
okay.
that hopefully people can have a glass of something open, and then we'll talk about the wines, perhaps in a bit of a grouping, because I know that luckily enough, Jo, you've selected a group of wines to launch that are all different grape varieties. So I think we've got lots to talk about when we start talking specific wines. But if I think,
Okay.
Julien, you're happy to do background part, that would be lovely.
Perfect.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
So this is the family. So I will start to talk about our family first. We are winemaker since 1626. So as Jean-Frédéric and as the Hugel family, we are now in the 13th generation. On this picture, you can see all the family which is working currently, but not only, because here you see two generations, the 12th and the 13th generation. On the left side with the mustache and gray hair, it's my uncle Pierre Trimbach, so the winemaker, current winemaker with myself. His first vintage was in 1985. And on the right side, this is my father that maybe you probably met, because it's our ambassador all around the world. This is Jean Trimbach, my father. I am in the middle, but well, anyway. On my right, this is my cousin Anne, and on my left, her sister, my cousin Frédéric Trimbach. So we are working in family, the same as Hugel. And now this is, in fact, three generations working together. Because even if the 11th generation is officially retired, they still here and they still there every day, of course. For example, my grandfather, so the previous winemaker, my grandfather Bernard Trimbach, is 89 today, and he's still working every day. He's still at the winery at 7:30 every day. This is just because he drank a lot of dry Riesling in his life, and if you know, and if you want to know the secrets, dry Riesling keep you in shape, dry Riesling keep you alive. So that's the secrets. So the 11th generation still working every day. And I want to say hopefully, because I still see, talk and learn from my grandfather every day. He was the winemaker, and I will be the next winemaker. I'm already a winemaker, of course, but I will be the next winemaker, and I'm learning every day from him. If it's not about wine or winemaking or viticulture, it's about how to maintain the machine, all the machine working, everything. So that's a great chance for us. So three generations working all together right now. This is Riquewihr, so maybe as beautiful as Riquewihr. We have beautiful vineyards, steep slope vineyard. All you can see here is Grand Cru Geisberg. Grand Cru Geisberg, and on the backside on the left, the castles of Riquewihr. So on this plot, just behind the house, just in fact behind me, this is Grand Cru Geisberg for Cuvée Frédéric Émile wine. Riesling Cuvée Frédéric Émile. Jean-Frédéric was talking about Frédéric Émile. It was a current name in the past. Frédéric Émile Trimbach is the one who made us famous, if I may say, in the wine world, because he was the one who won the gold medal for his Riesling, which was called Grande Reserve in the past, Riesling Grande Reserve, which was at the end internationally known for great wine, gastronomic wine, and a wine that you can age for years. Just to talk a little bit about myself, even if I don't really like it. As I said, I will be the next winemaker. I start working in the winery in 2014. I study viticulture and winemaking for 4 years in Burgundy to see something else. And after that, I traveled to Argentina and to New Zealand, and then a little bit in Germany too. So, well, I'm more, as you can understand, I'm more in the production side. I'm more in the technique side, more in the vines or more in the cellar. That's where I'm more confident, if I may say. I'm more confident talking to my wines or talking to my grapes than talking to people. But today is through a Zoom conference, so today it's okay. I can manage that. So if you want, Anna, we can have the next slide. So we can talk about another view of the beautiful Grand Cru Geisberg in Ribeauvillé, overlooking the beautiful old town, the village of Ribeauvillé. You can see in the middle of the picture a beautiful valley. This beautiful valley is also very important to this beautiful soil, this beautiful terroir, which is Grand Cru Geisberg, because from this valley we have in Alsatian dialect, we have the Tal Vendala, which means the wind coming from the valley. And this wind is really important for us, for the grapes, for the beautiful acidity, for the fresh, for the healthy side on this beautiful terroir. So beautiful, beautiful terroir, beautiful town, Ribeauvillé and Riquewihr also, of course. We are very, very lucky to enjoy this kind of terroir, which are unique in the world. I just remind you that Alsace, I have the highest diversity of soil in the world. So when we talk about mosaic of terroir, of course, Alsace, it makes sense because each 150, each 200 meter, you can have a geological fault, and so another terroir. So which is incredible in the world. Here in Ribeauvillé and also in Riquewihr, it's all about clay, limestone, and marl. That's once again just behind the winery, just behind the house. This is in fact 2020 vintage. I took the picture myself, so I can assure you this is 2020 vintage Riesling Cuvée Frédéric Emile, which is right now, because I tasted this morning, right now showing really, really great. How can I say that? We are looking for it because great potential right now. So this vineyard, steep slope, everything is done by hand, as you can imagine. And when I say everything, is everything except of the spraying. If everything is done by hand and we harvest by hand, we're doing everything by hand, because steep slope, old vines, of course, old vines. So you have a very short space between the rank. So even not a horse can do that. Even not a horse can do this steep slope. So a lot of work. But as you all know, no pain, no gain. So this is where is our pain, but we have a great gain with our beautiful Riesling Cuvée Frédéric Emile. We can do the next slide if you want, Anna. This is Rothenberg vineyard. You can see beautiful Pinot Noir. You can also see that it's working in organic way. Because since 8 years now, more than 50% of our vineyard are worked in organic way, and in 2023 we're going to have the certification. For example, Clos Sainte-Une, Riesling Clos Sainte-Une, that you maybe know, is working in organic way since 12 years now, and all of our vineyards are spraying in organic way since more than 10 years now. So long time. This is a beautiful map that can explain you Cuvée Frédéric Emile. I'm really sorry because we talk a lot about Cuvée Frédéric Emile, but we are not going to taste it. So sorry for you, if you have a bottle in the cellar, I invite you to open it, of course. But this is once again Cuvée Frédéric-Émile Vineyard. And as you can see, there is 2 Grands Crus in the same map, 2 Grands Crus in the same wine. You can see on the left side Grand Cru Geisberg, and you can see on the right side Grand Cru Osterberg. In the middle, in the yellow part, you can see written Vignoble du Riesling Cuvée Frédéric-Émile. This is Cuvée Frédéric-Émile plot. Riesling Cuvée Frédéric-Émile plot. So one plot on 2 different Grand Cru. But just because this wine, this vineyard, Cuvée Frédéric-Émile Vineyard, was existing before the Grand Cru legislation. And unfortunately or not, after that, when they created the Grand Cru, they cut our plot, they cut our vineyard in 2 different parts, unfortunately. So in fact, we have now a beautiful vineyard across 2 different Grand Cru. So it's a 100% Grand Cru wine based on 2 different Grand Cru. But in fact, with my left hand, I could be in Grand Cru Geisberg. With my right hand, I could be in Grand Cru Osterberg. Well, we've been a little bit fast on the slides, but you have seen a beautiful food, a beautiful cask, big barrel in the cellar. So we work in our cellar with cask, so wooden cask, inox, concrete with glass inside. And as you can see, I'm also working with my ships. So this is my 8 beautiful ships that we have in the vineyards during the winter. So they are doing the job right now. Well, they are maybe sleeping right now, but tomorrow they will do the job. They cut the grass for us. So this is my ships that we use for years now in our vineyards. So well, just for you to say, beautiful family work, and we are really happy to go on. As Jean-Frédéric say, it's a beautiful heritage that we have, a beautiful job, passion that we have, and that we are happy to share with you every day, and especially tonight with a beautiful glass of wine. And this is in fact the older cask we have. It's coming from 1717, except of the front face that we have to fix. But the main part of this cask is coming from 1717, and we still use it every year. We still doing the fermentation, the aging in this cask, just because it's a natural oak cask, because it's so old that it not bring any oak sensation in the wine anymore, of course. So it's a little bit of work to keep them well, to keep them in good shape. I can tell you because I am the one who is doing that. So yes, it's a lot of work, but in fact, they are doing great work, great job to the wines. And I think that's it for me. And I think that we could start the tasting if it's okay for you.
I was going to say, I think that makes a lot of sense. There are lots of great questions coming in. So I think we should probably make sense as well if we start the tasting with you, Julien, because the fine wine at the end, the Gewürz, is a dry wine, whereas the Jean-Frédéric has a vendange tardive to finish with. So I think if we carry on straight away with you, a quick run through the wines, that would be fantastic. Yeah,
sure. Perfect. So I think we start with the Pinot Noir, if I'm right. We should start with the Pinot Noir, yes.
You can, start with whichever you like. I'll just let members know as well that these wines are the wines we mentioned earlier. So these are wines that either are already, I think all of these are already on the website. So we have got Pinot Blanc, a Muscat, a Pinot Noir, and a vendange tardive Gewürz that Julien's going to kindly talk us. Oh, sorry, beg your pardon. The opposite. The Pinot Gris, the Gewürz, the Riesling, and Julien's going to kindly talk us through those. So for members that want to get your hands on them, Tim is going to pop the links in the chat as we talk, but I will be sending the information about these wines in the follow-up email tomorrow as well. So Julien, it's up to you, whichever way you see fit.
I think we're going to start with this one. 2018 Pinot Noir Reserve. So 2018 Pinot Noir Reserve. Pinot Noir, in fact, is quite new for us, if I may say. The first Pinot Noir we ever produced was 1985, and now we are currently producing Pinot Noir every year. And I think that we can say that us, the Trimbach family, and mainly all the Alsace, are producing better and better Pinot Noir every year. We saw the quality of Pinot Noir increasing year by year, which is quite phenomenal for us, and we are really happy with this. So this Pinot Noir, no oak aging Pinot Noir, none of our wine, none of our Pinot Noir are aged in oak. No new oak, only natural oak, natural cask. So you don't have any oak sensation in this wine. And in fact, we don't want any oak sensation in this wine, because what we are looking for here is the purity of the fruit, is the beautiful fruity expression of the variety of the Pinot Noir. So this is Reserve Pinot Noir. There is a part of the Rothenberg, the young vines of the Rothenberg. This is a lieu-dit, this is a beautiful terroir in Riquewihr. In fact, it's the picture we've seen before. Beautiful Pinot Noir of Rothenberg. We do a small maceration. Small maceration, when I say that, it's about 7 days to maybe 9 or 10. So small maceration. We don't want to extract too much. We don't want a concentrated Pinot Noir. We are not producing concentrate wine. We are producing drinkable wine, really fresh and pure wine. So to do this maceration, we destem 100% the grapes. So only the fruit, no stems. And after that, when the grapes are all in the tank, we drain this tank. We drain this tank, and after this, we clarify the juice down in the cellar. So we clarify the juice and we reintegrate them into the tank, which means the maceration are done on clear juice, which is very important for us because you have more purity, you have more fresh expression on the juice. And this is, I think, this is helping us a lot to produce this pure Pinot Noir. This is 2018 vintage, beautiful vintage in Alsace. And I think I can say we were really happy with this vintage because it brought us quality and quantity. And that was a long, long time that we didn't have quantity like that. We have 2008, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 small vintages, great vintages in terms of quality, but small vintages. In 2018, we have both quality and quantity, so we were quite happy with this. This Pinot Noir 2018 has this beautiful body. It was a hot vintage. 2018 was a hot vintage, hot summer. So you have this ripe fruit in the nose, but based on limestone soil, limestone terroir, you also have this beautiful acidity that gives you some fresh sensation. It's the fresh sensation in the end of the taste, in the end of the mouth, which is really important for us. It's not a complex wine. It's a wine which is easy to understand, which is easy to taste, even to drink. If you are thirsty, be careful because you may drink it a little bit too easy. So yes, this is the aim of our Pinot Noir, really drinkable Pinot Noir, fresh and fruity. And I will taste it.
Fantastic, thank you. I'm also just going to mention, we had a question from Jeffrey Harding who asked, given global warming and developments in Bordeaux, and I think he means i.e. the new grape varieties being planted, are any other new cultivars being considered by vine growers in the region? And Jean-Frédéric has typed an answer to him and said that clearly Pinot Noir is growing in plantation. And Rieslings have never been as great. And Syrah is also seriously getting more and more attention. I wondered if you had anything to add to that, Julien. So are you growing more Pinot or any other red grape varieties that have piqued Trimbach's interest?
Red grape variety, for the moment, no. But to be honest, we are thinking about it because, first of all, I am a big fan of, for me, the best red grape variety is Pinot Noir. It's the most elegant, the most complex, the most fine in Alsace or in Burgundy. After that, I'm also a big fan of Gamay, or also in Grenache, so, and in Syrah. So yes, we are thinking about this, but for the moment, nothing is planned and nothing is even planned. But we are thinking about that because there is, yes, other producers and even great producers in Alsace who already have, for example, yes, Syrah, Domaine Muret have a beautiful Syrah plant, and it's working well because it's a great wine. After this, that's a fact with global warming. We have to think to grow our vines, to grow our vineyard in a different way. In the past, it was the south-facing terroir which were the most beautiful. It's still the case today, of course. But now we also know that northeast facing, it's producing great wine and wine that we also love. So we have to think differently, or maybe we have to find a variety or a root system which are a little bit less early. Well, this is a way of thinking, but after this, you never know. 2016 was a cold or classic vintage with a lot of rain. Now we have 17, 18, 19, and 20, which were hot and dry. But you know, global warming, yes, climate changing for sure. Climate changing because we have more extreme sensation. When it's hot, it's really hot and dry, but when it's raining, it's also really raining a lot. So we have to, no rush, no revolution, just be calm, be quiet, and just see what Mother Nature is telling us. That's a big difficulty, but well, trying to do our best.
To be very frank, I'm actually trying to push the family, and this is not a given, to uproot a little bit of gewürztraminer from the sporon and plant some Merlot. Try to explain to Hugel that he's supposed to uproot some sporon to plant Merlot. That's gonna require probably a fair bit of time and possibly a couple of generations passing away before that happens.
Probably yes.
Thank you both very much.
We have the beautiful terroir, we have great soil, great subsoil, and we have now the climate that allows us to grow whatever we want. So in fact, in Alsace, we are really lucky. We have to confess, and I'm sure that Jean-Frédéric is agree with me. We have a great potential. We are really lucky to have this soil, this terroir, this climate. Maybe not of all the other we have today, no, but Alsace is one of the most dry region in France, if it's not the driest region in France. So the climate we have is just exceptional, and not even talking about the terroir and the soil.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much.
To be humble, but yes, that's a fact. We are one of the beautiful region in France. Absolutely.
Jo, are you happy if we move on to the next wine of Julien's now?
Definitely. I think we should, and probably a bit faster, or we won't have time for questions.
I will do that. Sorry for this. So after this, it will be 2018 once again, another Pinot, but this is now Pinot Blanc. So Pinot Blanc 2018. Pinot Blanc, this is a wine that we produce in larger quantity. This is a wine we enjoy a lot because I was talking about drinkability before that. Pinot Blanc is really the perfect example for that. It's really drinkable. After a hot day of work, if you have some friend and you want to enjoy a beautiful glass of wine without thinking about too much things about the wine, you just take a Pinot Blanc. It's easy to drink, easy to understand. It's fresh and fruity in the same time. So, and beside of this, it's a very, very good value for price. So yes, glass of Pinot Blanc always work with everybody. Pinot Blanc for us, it's in fact a lot of Auxerrois grape variety. Auxerrois, which is a cousin of Pinot Blanc. Auxerrois, it's smaller berries, more golden berries that will bring you more fruit sensation. When on the other hand, Pinot Blanc will give you more structure and more acidity. So we have 75 or 80% of Auxerrois, and the rest is Pinot Blanc. But this is one Alsace specificity. We have the right to put Pinot Blanc on the label, even if there is more Auxerrois than Pinot Blanc. This is a small specificity. Anyway, really drinkable, really nice wine to enjoy with your friend, with not overthinking, if I may say. And once again, 2018, same vintage, really fruity, really enjoyable right now, and of course, next years. To speed up a little bit, we're gonna do another 2018 because 2018 right now is really, really enjoyable. And this will be 2018 Musca Reserve. So 2018 Musca Reserve, we have here once again two different, not really different, but two different grape variety, Musca Automnelle and Musca d'Alsace. Musca d'Alsace, which means Musca from Alsace, so from Alsace region, and Musca Automnelle, which is a cross between Chasselas and Musca d'Alsace. Just for the story, I will do it short. Just for the story, they cross Musca d'Alsace and Chasselas because with the Musca we have sometimes some flowering problem. You know that the flowering period for the vines in spring is a very short period, about 3 to 5 days. And if you have too much temperature change at this time, if you have rain or something like that, you will lose a lot of flower. If you lose flower, you will lose fruit, so you will have less grapes. That's easy to understand. So they cross these two different grape varieties to avoid this problem. So that's why today we have Musca d'Alsace and Musca Automnelle. Musca d'Alsace will give you the beautiful fruity sensation. For me, it's always the same. When you smell Musca, when you smell a glass of Musca, it smells the grapes. It really smells the grapes of Musca. When you are walking through the vineyard during the harvest, it's easy to know if there is Musca around or not, because it really smells Musca everywhere. This is really what we're trying to have, and I think that what we have in our glass, it's smelling the grapes, really the fruit, the grapes. And on the other hand, Musca Automnelle has the Pinot Blanc before. It's really a beautiful structure, beautiful acidity that balance the wine. Once again, the balance is the most important in the wine. You can have fruit in one hand, but you must have something to balance this, so you have a drinkable wine. Drinkable balance and drinkability, that's the most important. I think I'm done. I did it speed. I did it quick. If it's okay for you, we can move on.
That was fantastic. Thank you for speeding through.
Do you want to finish with the final gewürz or leave those until the end if we have time?
Shall we? I think we will have time, Jo. I think the other lovely thing is for members, Julien and Jean-Frédéric have both offered that they will answer any questions we don't get to, and I can already see there are masses. They have offered to answer those over email. So for members who've submitted questions, don't worry, we will get to you. It just might be over email rather than on camera. But Julien, if you want to talk about the gewürz quickly now as well, I think it's a good time, and then we can move over to Jean-Frédéric if that's okay.
Indeed, I can do that. So gewürztraminer is maybe one of the most grape variety, the most famous grape variety in Alsace, with Riesling, of course. Everybody know about gewürztraminer, and everybody know how good it is and it could be. But we have the same philosophy with the Hugel family. We are loving dry wine and dry gewürztraminer. Even if sometimes it's difficult to have dry or balanced gewürztraminer, this is what we are producing. And I will talk about our family right now. This is what we love to do, is a dry gewürztraminer, because they are gastronomic gewürztraminer. If it's too sweet, it's gastronomic, but only for desserts. And we are wine lover, but also food lover, and only eating dessert is quite difficult. So sometimes a beautiful dishes, spicy dishes, Asian food, Thai food, Chinese food, Japanese food is just a dream with gewürztraminer. I discovered that with my father, because my father, as I said before, is the ambassador of our family. So he traveled a lot and is still traveling a lot. And he brought us this idea of spicy dishes, spicy food, Asian food with gewürztraminer. And when we discovered that, I still remember this dinner with my sister, with my mother and my father. He brought us special spices from China, and we cooked something quite spicy, even maybe too much spicy for my sister and I because we were young. But in fact, with gewürztraminer, everything was just perfect. Everything was just balanced. And so gewürztraminer with spicy food is just going very, very well. Another memory that I have, I think it will be with my grandfather. I was not a big fan of gewürztraminer when I was young, and I was not a big fan of Münster cheese. Maybe you know Münster cheese from Alsace, strong cheese, very powerful in the nose and in the mouth, but quite good. And my grandfather, I think we can say he forced me to taste them together. And I say, no, I don't want to. But because he was my grandfather and because he forced me, I said yes. And when I taste them both together, in fact, it was just marvelous. It was mesmerizing. It's crazy how the cheese, the Münster cheese, helped the gewürztraminer and the other way too. So gewürztraminer, very, very great variety in Alsace. It's also going very well on great terroir and on Grand Cru terroir, of course. We have a lot of gewürztraminer in our Grand Cru. And we maybe also produce a gewürztraminer Grand Cru soon. We will see. So yes, gewürztraminer, very gastronomic wine, gastronomic grape variety. And I think we can move on now.
Not until we just have a look at the bottle. The current fine wine list has the half bottles of the Seigneur de Riquewihr, which is a beautiful little half bottle. It's a really iconic label, I think, and the wine is tasting absolutely delicious, I have to say.
Thank you, Jo. Thank you. This is our best gewürztraminer, our best dry gastronomic gewürztraminer. Grand Cru vineyard, of course, old vines, of course, and small yield, of course. Well, Jo, you all know the story, but yeah, great wine and half bottle, always good in a restaurant when you're alone.
Very handy for members who might be locked down as well. Thank you so much, Julien. Jean-Frédéric, I think we've got, again, 4 wines from you to talk about. And yet again, many of these are available now, but we do have 2 wines that we're going to talk about just to warn members that we are waiting until the end of November. They are on their way to us. They're booked in, but we are waiting for the Pinot Gris and the Riesling. So when we talk about those, there won't be links, but they are going to be available. And I will email everyone on the call to let them know the moment they're available, to give you exclusive rights or access to those wines. So Jean-Frédéric, thank you.
Well, the set that we're wishing to show is our estate line, which, as I outlined very briefly just before, is what we personally consider in the family as our best value for money, meaning that it's terroir wines, grapes that come from noble origin, that have simply been declassified because they don't have that extra touch of magic, in the way that not all wines are born to be great. Some grapes simply will make good wine. If they do not, we simply don't want these vineyards. So these ones are just on the lower limit of exceptional in the way that they show especially well. And whether it's Riesling, Pinot Gris, or gewürztraminer, they show a very different aspect of the terroirs of Riquewihr. Riquewihr has this as a place, as a location in terms of terroir and soils, that it is one of the most diverse location in Alsace, and so in the world in terms of diversity of soils. And these wines show a certain parti pris, a certain take on what the terroirs of Riquewihr are really about, in the way that Riesling shows a very strong, very emphasized marly character, in the way that we source these grapes mainly from marly soils, second-era seabed alluvials, which tend to give Riesling a little bit of an unexpected touch, in the way that it brings more creaminess, more roundness, more opulence than you would generally find on Riesling. When you think of Riesling, and when most people think of Riesling, they will generally think of these very vertical, very lean, aromatic wines. The terroirs of Riquewihr actually bring a very different, an extra touch to that character, in the way that, first of all, they age very well. Marly soils take a lot of time to express. My great-grandfather used to call that Chenambour sickness. The Marly soils of the Chenambour, especially, because they're really heavy and quite pure Marly soils on the Chenambour. They always used to go through a dump phase that my great-grandfather used to call Chenambour sickness. You taste the wine straight out of the cask, they look fantastic. They taste floral, aromatic, very ready, very outgoing, charming. They put a smile on your face. You bottle the wines, you taste them 6 months after bottling, and they completely shut down. They completely close down. And you're getting a little bit of that on that estate level. You're getting a little bit of that Chenambour character, which is why at the moment, the vintage that we're releasing is 2016. The 17s are starting to open up slowly. It's a vintage that shows quite early on, but the 18s, 19s are extremely tight still. So we're gonna wait a little extra bit to make sure that these wines get the time that they need. And it's a very important aspect of wine. There's the quality of the wine and there's the timing. It's not because the wine is not tasting well that it is a bad wine. You might have gotten the timing wrong. Well, we try to make sure that doesn't happen, so that we decide on the house, and we don't charge for it, to age the wines for a little extra time before we release them. And so that set of 2016 is pretty much the vintage that we believe is ready at the moment. Estate Pinot Gris is a little bit in that same vein. It's limestone soils this time, so it's a different type of soils closer to the mountain. We have a very nice strain of limestone, and limestone is our preferred soil when it comes to Pinot Gris. It is really the grape variety that tends to thrive on limestone. It's quite permissive Pinot Gris, to be honest, but we like that limestone character that you can obtain on Pinot Gris. And gewürztraminer is clay soils, mouth coating wines, creamy, luscious, opulent, still vinified as dry as we can, so around 12 to 18 grams of residual sugar, which is, well, still not dry, but in the lower part of the spectrum of what gewürztraminer can offer. So with those three wines, you have a perfect set of what the terroirs of Riquewihr can offer, what the grape can offer, and what the vintage has to offer, with the decent bit of aging that it requires to make it a very short sum up. And then there's an extra wine which I strongly encourage every single one of you to get a hold on a bottle, because this is going to probably change the way you visualize sweet wines and the way you visualize the late harvest of the family. I chose only one bottle to have tonight because the lady cannot drink and I'm going to have to finish it by myself. So, well, one bottle will be plenty. But this is the one, gewürztraminer vendange tardive 2010. I cannot stress enough how highly we think of this wine. To make it very simple, and I've answered a few questions, or at least a couple of questions on the Hugel late harvests tonight already. Without any doubt, this is the most beautiful gewürztraminer vendange tardive we've produced in the last 20 years. 2010 is an absolutely stunning vintage. As soon as I've been able to, I put my hand on as many Alsace 2010s as possible, stuffed my cellar with those. These wines are probably going to go for decades, and the 2010 is just starting to open up. This gives you an idea. 10 years after, we're just finally starting to see that wine come up and show the lush and the elegance. Still, it's a very elegant wine at over 100 grams of residual sugar, which is an absolutely supercharged vendange tardive with riesling levels of acidity, which is the perfect combo. Super high acidity, very long growing cycle, fulgurant botrytis. It is absolutely stunning botrytis of excellent quality. This one is produced out of 40% of botrytis affected grapes, which is enormous. and with laser sharp acidity. So absolutely no heaviness. If you're fed up with Alsace late harvest gewürztraminers, if there's only one that can convince you, it's probably going to be this one.
And Jean-Frédéric, it's a speciality of the House of Hugel, of vendange tardive. Tell us, when and how do you serve this wine? Because we get a lot of questions about when to drink this style of wine. We all taste them and love them, but we don't open them often enough.
I would say on a Wednesday night at 8 o'clock, it's a good time, but pretty much as any other time. I have found people being a little judgmental if you open it before 9 o'clock in the morning, so I would recommend you to be careful. But no, the fact is those wines can be enjoyed both with a meal, outside of a meal. I know tea time is absolutely sacred in England, and I'm not going to recommend you to go to replace your tea with Alsace vendange tardive, but it can be an option. I'm just leaving that here. It is an option. Second thing, it is what I consider to be one of the most sociable wines on the planet. After dinner, you know, when you've had a generous dinner, you've opened plenty of bottles of wine, and you're having a very good conversation. You know, you've invited your best friends at home just after lockdown, and you're celebrating the arrival of the vaccine. The first 2 or 3 of you have had theirs, and it's a good time to celebrate. And you're taking it to the living room and to the fireplace. It is probably one of the best conversation wines, because very often people tell me, I couldn't drink a second glass of this. No, you're wrong. You're drinking it too fast. You're not enjoying the conversation. You're in a tasting. You're not in a conversation. If you're in a conversation, you take an hour and a half, and you realize the bottle is empty and the conversation went like a storm, and you haven't seen time fly by. So it is an excellent option for a conversation wine. A part of that, being a Frenchman, I'm a little ashamed to admit this, but my favorite blue cheese is Stilton. So you can cheat a little bit on your port and have Stilton with late harvest gewürz.
I like that sort of cheat, Jean-Frédéric. I think that's
great to hear.
great. Yeah, exactly. A great combination.
Thai food, very spicy Thai food, and roasted chicken. And I've amazed people in the US with ribs, barbecue ribs. You would be surprised how well it works. The sky's the limit, and your imagination's the limit. But don't stick to sweet wine with dessert. Dessert is a given, it's very easy, but sweetness on sweetness is a fair bit of sweetness. After dinner, before dinner, and just as a conversation wine, this is probably the best moment to drink these wines.
Thank you. I hugely appreciate it. And Julien and Jean-Frédéric and Jo, I am so grateful of your time tonight. I'm conscious that we managed to get through 60 minutes incredibly quickly. Some of you who did post questions in the Q&A have already had them answered kindly via written message, but we are planning to also gather those questions together, and we will email them over to Jean-Frédéric and Julien, and also to Jo if necessary, which means that we can hopefully get some answers over to you quickly, because I am very conscious that we ran out of time. What I would say though is both of these lovely gentlemen have agreed to come back next year and to do another event with us where we can go into a bigger deep dive. We can talk more about terroir, we can talk about cru, we can talk about, you know, that lovely mosaic of soil. So I hope that you'll all feel a lovely flavour of what's potentially on offer. And there's lots more to come from these two, and lots more opportunity to hear from them over the coming few months, but over next 2021 as well. So that's it from me. A huge thank you from us, from the members, on behalf of the tastings team as well. And thank you to you, Jo. I will allow you to finish. But yes, all of the admin side will be sent over by me tomorrow morning. And all I can say is I really enjoyed both wines tonight, and I hope members get opportunity to enjoy them too, hopefully this side of Christmas, but in 2021 as well.
Hopefully. Be careful, your glass is empty, Anna.
Thank you, Anna. And yeah, just a quick final word. Thank you to everyone for attending. I'm sorry it was such a whistle-stop run through, but I hope it gave you lots of food for thought. And I just want to say a big thank you to these two. They and their families have been, well, not only fantastic suppliers to the Wine Society for many, many years, but they've been fantastic ambassadors, all of them. We talked specifically about Jean Trimbach, but all of them, their grandfathers, their fathers, these two guys have been fantastic ambassadors for the whole region, not just for their own houses. It's something that Sebastian, our former head of buying, always used to refer to as treading the boards. And your families have always understood the importance and the value of doing that. And so many members have had chance to meet you, and as I say, other members of the family, and appreciated that. So I really hope, not just a deep dive online, let's hope that you'll be back with us and tasting wines in person next year. That would be fantastic. But in the meantime, thank you so much for your time this evening, both of you. We're very grateful, and we'll really look forward to the answers to those questions, because there were many, many really interesting questions from members. So yeah, let's hope we can all share those between us. That would be fantastic. Thanks, Tastings team, for putting it on seamlessly.
Thank you, Jo. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for supporting us. It's difficult to not see each other. It's difficult to not travel anymore. It's difficult to not taste wine with you anymore. But cross finger, it will be down soon. And thank you for your time. Thank you for supporting Alsace. Drink Riesling, drink Alsace. Thank you.
And rest assured, the Wine Society is still our favorite customer in the world. You always get extra treatment. And when you're a Wine Society member, be careful. You might end up with more Alsace generosity than you intended.
Cheers, guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks to you. Bye-bye, everyone.